What if every choice you think you own was actually made long before you even realized? Imagine an invisible force, ancient and silent, pulling the strings behind your back. It doesn't shout or beg for attention. Instead, it flows through you like a secret current, steering your instincts, drawing your gaze, and nudging your mind toward places you never consciously picked. It sounds like your own voice, but it's older, wilder, born from something deeper than thought. Carl Jung named this shadowy power the unconscious, but don't get stuck on the label. Inside it lies a fierce hunger, not for pleasure, but for something rawer, the desperate need to be noticed, to be desired, to truly belong. While you walk through your day thinking you're calling the shots, this silent force might just be the one actually running the show. Think about your day, the clothes you pick, the way you speak, even how you lean in when someone important walks by. None of it is random. Every move is pulled by a hidden force you barely even notice. It's an energy so deep and old it's almost like a wound left to fester beneath your skin. Carl Jung didn't see sex as something dirty or taboo. For him, it was a symbol, one of the most powerful forces shaping your inner world. Try to bury it, ignore it, or deny it, and it only grows stronger, twisting the strings behind the mask you show the world. Here's the brutal truth. Most people go through their whole lives completely unaware of just how much this silent power has been running the show. Facing this hidden reality takes guts, the kind of guts that force you to dig up the parts of yourself you've spent years burying deep. It means staring down the sides of yourself you've called unacceptable, the secrets you've been too scared to admit, even in your own mind. Here's the brutal fact: you're not the person you think you are. You're shaped by raw instincts and buried urges that have never seen the light of day. And the longer you shove them aside, the stronger they grab hold of you. This isn't about some moral panic or shame around sex. It's something far more powerful and far more dangerous. Society builds walls around this energy, pretending it'll disappear if ignored. But it never does. Instead, it twists into anxiety, obsession, frustration, or a desperate need to always be in control. You might constantly feel like something essential is missing, an invisible void that no accomplishment, relationship, or possession can quite fill. It's that nagging sense of emptiness, like there's a silent chasm between you and true fulfillment, even when your life looks perfect on the surface. This is the deep disconnection at play. Somewhere buried inside, a part of you knows the hunger you've been denying. This primal craving has never actually disappeared. You've just trained yourself to ignore it, to live in denial. And that's where the real trap lies. What if everything you proudly claim as you, your personality, your values, your dreams, hasn't been shaped by your conscious choices at all? What if it's been sculpted in the shadow of what you refuse to feel, what you refuse to face? When Carl Jung spoke about anima and animus, the inner feminine and masculine energies within us, he wasn't waxing poetic or being mystical. He was pointing to a deep, hidden chaos inside many people who look like they have it all together. They seem successful, confident, even happy on the outside, but inside, they're fractured, disconnected, and lost. Time and again, Jung witnessed the same scar beneath this facade, a broken link to that buried sexual energy, the wellspring of vitality and connection that, when severed, leaves the soul wandering in shadow. Why do the most important decisions in your life often come wrapped in a gut feeling you can't put into words? Why can a single glance, from a stranger or someone familiar, shake the very foundation of who you think you are? Why do you sometimes betray your own values, not out of love or reason, but driven by something far older and rawer, pure, unfiltered desire? This isn't just some fleeting feeling you can ignore or talk your way out of. It's a force that refuses to be silenced or tamed by moral rules or social niceties. You have two choices: either you learn to recognize it and channel it with intention, or it will rush through you like a wild storm, uprooting everything in its path, your sense of self, your plans, your peace. This isn't about sex in the usual sense. It's about a deeper, more terrifying kind of power, real power, that lies beneath the surface of your identity, beneath your rational thoughts, embedded in the very fabric of society and civilization. This primal force shapes your world, even when you think you're fully in control. You stand at a crossroads, a choice between continuing the comfortable illusion that you're the master of your own fate, or daring to ask the question most people run from: what is really pulling the strings in my life? But be warned, this journey won't be easy. The truths you uncover won't soothe your ego or make you feel safe. They'll shake you to your core, ripping away the masks you've worn for years. Yet, in that rawness lies your only chance at genuine clarity and power. Walk with me into Jung's hidden realm, not just to learn facts, but to pierce through the surface and see what really shapes us. Because once you glimpse what he uncovered, there's no turning back to the shallow comforts of everyday life. Here's the truth beneath the surface: your mind isn't a calm, unified voice speaking clearly from within. It's a chaotic battleground where instincts clash with dreams, old wounds wrestle with fresh hopes, and countless personas compete for control. The you believe in is actually a shifting constellation of inner forces, each pulling you in different directions. Carl Jung called this complex inner world the self, a living, breathing system that shapes your entire existence. At the heart of it all lies libido, but don't mistake it for the shallow, lust-driven desire Freud talked about. For Jung, libido was a far more profound energy, a raw, restless psychic force that powers transformation. It's the invisible current fueling your deepest creativity and destruction, the energy that sculpts your identity moment by moment, shaping who you become in ways you rarely notice. But everything society tells you is upside down. You're conditioned to believe that controlling desire means stuffing it deep inside, locking it away where it can't be seen or heard. That keeping silent is a sign of strength, and that repression is some kind of moral victory. Yet, in reality, this kind of denial tears you apart from within. It fractures your true self from the image you show the world, a carefully crafted mask that might look polished on the outside but is quietly cracking beneath the surface. Because the energy you bury doesn't vanish. It lingers, simmering like a hidden storm, growing stronger in the shadows. And then, without warning, it begins to pull your strings from below, steering your life while you still believe you're calling the shots. Have you ever wondered why your relationships keep replaying the same painful patterns? Why you seem magnetically drawn to chaos and dysfunction, no matter how hard you try to change? That's no accident. It's your unconscious forcing the same worn-out song, hoping you'll finally listen. That restless energy, libido hiding in the dark, is screaming out for balance, demanding release through the very chaos it creates. Jung gave us a stark warning: what remains hidden in the shadows of your mind doesn't disappear, it becomes your destiny. Those impulses you never dare to explore, the urges you shove aside or deny, are far from innocent bystanders. They are the silent architects of your life's path, shaping your decisions and steering your actions without your awareness. And when this powerful sexual energy, the raw, primal force inside you, is ignored or misunderstood, its influence spreads far beyond just your intimate relationships. It seeps into every corner of your existence, morphing into unhealthy obsessions, an endless quest for perfection, ruthless ambition that blinds you to what really matters, the urge to escape through spiritual shortcuts that avoid true healing, and an emotional numbness that leaves you disconnected from yourself and others. Around you, people seem caught in relentless motion, building careers, chasing success, amassing possessions, but beneath it all, they're running from the same thing. A yawning emptiness, the aching void left by being cut off from that deep, vital source of life and meaning. This isn't about morality, religion, or ethics, it's about hard, clinical reality. Jung witnessed it again and again in his practice: brilliant, self-aware individuals trapped in endless cycles of confusion, pain, and frustration. They arrived searching for meaning, for calm, for answers. But what Jung asked them to do was terrifying: to face the very thing they had spent a lifetime running from. Desire. Not the polished, romantic fantasy of desire we tell ourselves, but the raw, relentless force underneath, the hunger they had buried so deep it felt like a secret shame. And here's the catch: desire doesn't quietly disappear when ignored. Instead, it mutates, wearing countless masks. It shows up disguised as ruthless ambition, obsessive discipline, or even what we call love, but beneath these facades lies something far darker. Fear, control, and shame masquerading as something else entirely. But here's the real price you pay. Most people never get to live as their true selves. Instead, they slip into roles, performing like actors on a stage, adapting, molding, bending themselves to fit what others want or what keeps rejection at bay. Yet beneath that carefully crafted act burns a quiet, relentless flame, the Eros. This is the primal force of attraction, growth, and deep connection, the pulse that fuels passion and creativity. When that flame is smothered for too long, it doesn't just flicker out, it ignites chaos. It sabotages your creativity, strains your relationships, clouds your mind, or sends you spiraling into spiritual confusion. You simply cannot silence something so essential without paying a heavy toll. Jung was blunt: when this energy remains trapped, it twists into neurosis. Just look around, countless brilliant souls crippled by doubt, gifted individuals endlessly chasing hollow ambitions, all haunted by a gnawing emptiness that no success can fill. No one ever points to the real root of the problem, a broken connection with their own sexual energy, not as something crude or shameful, but as a powerful force of self-awareness. At its heart, this energy is a tool, a mirror reflecting who you truly are, a gateway to deep self-understanding. Yet, nobody teaches us how to unlock that door. Instead, we're taught to fear it, to hide it, to shove it down until it disappears. The result? We walk around with half our soul asleep, dulled by a culture that labels desire as something dangerous rather than a vital key to our inner world. But make no mistake, that energy never vanishes. It just changes shape, twisting itself into every obsession, every restless pursuit, every craving we chase blindly, never realizing it's the very thing we've refused to face. Ask yourself this: how many of your biggest life choices weren't really about what you wanted, but about craving someone else's approval? How often have you bent and reshaped your identity just to catch a fleeting glance, a whisper of desire? How many times have you sacrificed your own truth, your own voice, simply to be noticed, to feel seen? If you're brutally honest, you'll feel a strange unease stirring deep inside. Because all along, you've been caught in the grip of an invisible force, an ancient cultural script, a silent sexual blueprint handed down through generations, seeping into your unconscious. It doesn't just tell you who to desire, but how to desire, when it's allowed, and how much is too much. And if you stray from that pattern, you don't just feel different, you feel broken, like the flawed piece that doesn't belong. But here's the real threat: every time you bend yourself to fit in, you drift further away from your true core. That's when the symptoms surface. Anxiety gnawing at your calm, depression clouding your days, a restless energy you can't shake. These aren't signs of weakness, they're your soul's alarm bells, screaming to be heard. This raw, stripped-down force is Eros in its purest form, urgent, relentless, impossible to ignore. It's calling you toward something profound: individuation, a deep transformation, a rebirth of the authentic self that existed long before society tried to rewrite your story. Freedom begins with a brutal truth: the cage you're trapped in isn't out there, in politics, family drama, or your job. It's buried deep inside you, hidden in the shadows of your unconscious, where your sexual energy has been twisted, silenced, and turned against your very sense of self. Until you face that hidden core, everything else will feel like a hollow replacement. You'll chase approval, love, and validation like a mirage, never realizing the real power you need is already inside you. It doesn't speak with words or show itself in images. It's nameless, but Jung gave it a name. Now, the question is clear and relentless: will you keep pretending you don't hear that call? Or will you finally open the door and step through? Because once you open that door, nothing stays the same. But here's the harshest truth: most people don't just push this energy away, they throw it onto others. The parts of yourself you bury, the cravings, the shame, the desires you won't face, they come roaring back disguised as admiration, hatred, or obsession directed at someone else. This is the shadow at work. This is projection in its rawest form. And nothing sparks it faster than the sexual energy you refuse to acknowledge. It twists reality, spinning illusions and toxic attachments. You think you're falling in love, but really, you're trapped in a hall of mirrors, infatuated with a reflection of the parts of yourself you refuse to embrace. That's the true addiction, not to the person, but to the part of yourself they awaken. They become a doorway to the self you've long denied, a mirror reflecting what you refuse to accept. But instead of facing it, you mistake it for love, romance, fate. And just like that, you lose sight of who you really are. You're not in love with them, you're in love with the fragment of yourself they touch. Jung witnessed this over and over, men projecting their inner feminine onto women, women casting their inner masculine onto men. These aren't just theories, they're the invisible forces shaping our hearts. When someone stirs something deep inside you, it's not really them you're seeing, it's the unfinished story inside your own soul. So what do people do when they come face to face with this raw, unstoppable force? Most either dive headfirst into the chaos, chasing it blindly, or they flee in terror. Because Eros isn't gentle, it scorches through your carefully built roles, your armor, your masks. It demands that you meet yourself stripped bare, vulnerable, and exposed. And very few are ready to face that kind of intense intimacy with their own soul. But why does this energy feel so overwhelming? Because it's not just about flesh, it's ancient, mythic, archetypal. Across every culture, sex is treated as both sacred and dangerous, and that's no coincidence. In that moment, the ego shatters, control slips away, and the divine and primal collide. That's why powerful institutions seek to tame it, because whoever masters sex, masters the very core of identity itself. Here's the chilling truth that most miss. You don't have to be sexually active to be controlled by sex. You might go your whole life without physical intimacy, and still be ruled by that relentless energy. Because this isn't about what you do, it's about what moves beneath the surface, unseen and unstoppable. And if you don't step up and own that force, rest assured, it will own you.